A very good evening, dear friend. Today we are here with a very important topic. You might have read a story from your elementary education. It may be in your class prep. That was like some poem or some story. As simply you are moving towards your higher education, class 2, 4, 6, 10, graduation, post-graduation, or it may be your PhD or other studies. And you find some stories. Sometimes there are stories in your everyday life. But here I am going to talk about the stories like drama, short story, or some novel. It works with a systematic structure, and behind that structure there is one story, or there is one theory that is known as Freytag's pyramid. You see, there are two names, one is Freytag and second one is pyramid. So Freytag is the name of the propounder who has given the concept, and pyramid, you know that the structure of the pyramid is in triangle shape. As you can look towards the pyramid in next session. So this is the structure of pyramid. You might have seen Mummy movie, or if you have not seen, you might have heard about mist. So mist is particularly known for the pyramid. So the structure is in the form of the pyramid. That's why it is known as Freytag's pyramid. Why we are going to study this pyramid? Because this is going to give you a structure. This is going to give you a particular feel that how you can explore the story rather than our narratives. How you can find a plot more interesting. There are 5 elements. Basically, there are exposition. I don't know, when you exposed with something, it means you are introduced with something. So the primary label of the story is exposition. Remember your favorite story that you have read, or your favorite film that you have seen. You might have seen somewhere. First you find some characters, some maybe maternal uncle, some children, some hero and heroine, and you get introduced with. So the primary part that we come with is known as exposition, or you can also say this is introduction. And this is the setting. And what is setting? In fact, setting is the general introduction of the space, place, a particular time. Suppose that you are reading a story of 1920, 1910 or 2020. So when you are studying a story of 1910, then all the atmosphere will be like 1910. It means, suppose that what was the condition when you were in your childhood, and what is the condition right now. So time decides the mood of the story, the character of the story, the place of the story, or it also decides setting of the story, or it also decides clothes of the characters, behavior of the character. So this is the exposition or setting of the story, or you can say this is the primary introduction of the character, as I have told you. This is also something that gives you a background, a particular part where you start to understand your story. And second thing is the rising action. When you are introduced with this exposition, and this exposition, you know that this is the introduction of the character, time and space, and according to this introduction, you start to move towards in a story. You start to study a story. Characters become involved with each other or one another. They create some intensive atmosphere, or you can say this is the inciting incident where everyone start to interact with each other. So something happened to being the action. It means you come in action. Rising action, it means there is some action and these actions are only performed by the character. It may be one single event, it may be 2 or 4 or 5 or 10 events subsequently, or it may be simultaneously. So there are some events, and according to the events characters are involved. You see that some types of the story is getting to in its net. You start to feel something about the story, in fact. And next part is climax. Haven't you heard about climax? You see, when you see some movie, people say that this is the climax of the movie. It means the peak level of the interest, peak level of the level of the anxiety is known as climax. So climax is something where you start to feel anxiety, where you start to feel that what is going to happen next. So these are the parts in climax. Next is your falling action. Falling action is the result of climax. It means all the story is starting to unfold before you, and you start to understand that what was in fact in the exposition. Your exposition, rising action, climax comes in the falling action. It means you become aware with the soul of the story. Next comes resolution. It means you find the answer. This resolution is after falling action. This resolution is the answer of your question. Every question is answered through this resolution. And the last part is denouement. Denouement is a French word, and the meaning of the denouement is ending. It means everything is ended. It means everything is given proper safe shape. So all the questions relating to exposition, rising action, climax, falling action is answered in your denouement. So this is what I have started to in the lecture there. Freytag's pyramid is very important to understand. Freytag's pyramid is something that gives you clue about the character. So when you are aware with this particular elements, then you understand story better. I hope that you understand the story, and if you have any question, you can inbox me, you can ask me. You are most welcome. You can also relate some stories if you have read any story. Suppose if you have read Hamlet, if you might, I know that you might have heard the name of Shakespeare, so you might have read the story of Shakespeare, Hamlet, how it starts, how it moves, how the climax is there, how Hamlet becomes aware about the notoriety of his uncle, how the falling action, how there is a lot of tragedy and characters are just killed. So thank you so much, and we are going to see each other in next lecture, and that lecture will be the series of the same one with some relation of the stories. Take care.